Hello aspirants, a very good morning to all of you. This is Vilasini from Veranda IAS. And friends, இன்னைக்கு என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா the daily current affairs analysis for the dates 12th and 13th August 2025. So yes, we have approached the midweek and I'm sure most of you might be having midweek blues. Correct? And இன்னைக்கு வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா Chennai's weather is also very nice. So இந்த மாதிரியான when the climate is also very favorable for your preparation, make the best out of it. So yes, every day or every time when we discuss, ஏதாவது ஒரு positive quote or a positive thought or we start the day. So today I have something interesting for you. The story of the eagle. Okay, so all of us know about this beautiful bird called as the eagle, the majestic bird, right? But eagle வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா as an aspirant நம்ம ஏகப்பட்ட life lessons கற்றுக்கலாம். Let me share some with you. Okay, so number one, யோசிச்சு பாருங்க, the eagle, right, it flies at such great height. What does that tell you? Flying at great heights. It basically means your aims and ambitions should always be set apart and high. Always have higher standards for yourself, have higher targets and higher goals. That is what it teaches us. Next, eagle பார்த்தீங்கன்னா என்னதான் ஹைட்ல பறந்தாலுமே it is able to carefully look out for its prey, which means its vision and its eye is very sharp. இதிலிருந்து என்ன கற்றுக்கலாம்? சிம்பிளாக சொல்லணும்னா your long-term goals and the planning to reach your long-term goals should be very, very clear. There may be obstacles, ups and downs irukkalam, but irrespective of that, your goal should be fixed and operate towards that. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா eagle is known to fly even during the time when the weather is very bad and even during the time when there is a storm, and it usually builds its nest at great heights. ஏன் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா this teaches us one thing, and that one thing that it primarily teaches us is that irrespective of whatever happens around you, right, your preparation should continue. உங்களை சுற்றி என்னெல்லாமோ நடக்கலாம், right? Your friends might be having a great social life, right? Your friends might be taking up different careers. Your family relatives and your family members may question, are you taking the right decisions? உங்கள் மேலேயே உங்களுக்கு self doubt இருக்கலாம். But irrespective of the calamity outside, you need to trust and believe in the process. And the only one who you can rely on is your own self. இதை கூட ஈகிள் கிட்டேருந்து கற்றுக்கலாம். Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா eagle is always more or less a solitary creature. It likes to be alone, right? And one more thing that we can reflect and learn from this is the journey of your exam preparation becomes very lonely. ஒரு டைமில் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா you will notice there are not much people around you except a handful. Embrace it, rejoice it, accept it and move on. And yes, ஒரு டைமில் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா when the eagle feels, right, it's growing old, what it will do is it will pluck out all the feathers. It will break its beak. It's a very painful process. But after a point of time, the eagle will rise above. It will be reborn. Wings திருப்பியும் வளர்ந்துரும், right? Its beak will grow back and it will take a great leap across the sky. So what does this teach us? It teaches us that pain is a part of your preparation journey. Endure pain today, you will see a brighter future tomorrow. So yes, ஒரு bird கிட்டேருந்து as a human we can learn so many things, and these are all inspirations for your own UPSC exam, right? I hope you remember this. Remember, soar high and fly high like the eagle. Okay? Yes. So in the context வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா let us talk about the topics that were in news yesterday and today and இதோட relevance in terms of the exam. Okay? So first one வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா there is an article which says panel raps ministry for evasive reply on the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme dues. Okay, so the center owes a great amount, right, for the pending Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme or a dues. Okay, so இது வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா yes, we can bring this under the scope of social justice, vulnerable sections, right, initiatives for them, schemes for them. So இதை வந்து we can bring it under the scope of GS paper 2. Okay, Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா rift between two blocks continues in the Geneva Plastics Treaty negotiation. So yes, global plastics treaty பற்றி நம்ம பார்த்துக்கிட்டே இருக்கோம். Last few days, what have been significant and major updates? One thing you need to understand is yes, இப்போ வரைக்கும் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா there is a very divided opinion and arriving at consensus has become difficult. So in the context of plastics as an issue, GS paper 3 environment, but plastics treaty, and because there are many nations involved, we can bring this both under the scope of GS paper 2 IR and also under the scope of GS paper 3 environment. Okay, so both of this is possible. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா in call with Zelensky, PM seeks peaceful settlement of Ukraine-Russia conflict. So yes, there was a telephonic conversation between our Prime Minister and the Ukrainian president. So yes, in the context of because we're talking about different countries, Russia, Ukraine conflict and its implications on India, etc., this can feature as an important topic from your GS paper 2 international relations. Okay, so next one an update to the Uttarakashi flash floods. Flash floods எதனால trigger ஆச்சு இது வந்து நம்ம already பார்த்துட்டோம், but an update to this topic, right? What has been the recent update, இதை மட்டும் நம்ம check பண்ண போறோம். And in this context, flash floods, etc., your GS paper 3 disaster management. Okay, so guys, this is the decoding of the topics, right, which were in news on 12th August. So இதே மாதிரி பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இன்னைக்கு நியூஸ் பேப்பரில் இருக்கிற சில significant topics, major topic of discussion, 8-year low, the retail inflation has hit an 8-year low. Okay, so in the இடத்துல retail inflation has hit an 8-year low of 1.55%. okay, and this is there in your page 1, and in the context the inflation, GS paper 3 economy. Next, Aadhaar voter ID not proof of citizenship rules Bombay High Court. So yes, இது வந்து we can citizenship as a topic polity-ல இருக்கு. So GS paper 2 polity. Next one, Union Cabinet has approved 4 semiconductor projects. Okay, so here semiconductor growth in the semicon sector, right? India also has a mission for semiconductors. So இது வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா GS paper 3 science and tech. Okay, next, the Indian Council of Medical Research has set to monitor wastewater for 10 viruses in 50 cities, right? So in the context of pollution, right, diseases, idu patti pesumbodhu when we talk about diseases, science and tech, and here specifically pathina they've also mentioned about antimicrobial resistance, AMR. So what is it, idu pathiyum nama paaka porom. So in the context we will bring this under the scope of GS paper 3 science and technology. Okay, next, Bihar draft rolls are not useful in finding new and existing voters. So special intensive revision, இது பத்தி நம்ம already நிறைய discuss பண்ணிருக்கோம். There will also be an editorial video which will be uploaded on this topic. Please take a look. So in the context of what have been some latest updates. So overall, these are some topics that we will be discussing. This will feature in your GS paper 2 polity. Apart from that, multiple articles on special intensive revision are already there. Please go through it. Adu thavara Israel-Palestine conflict, right? The US tariffs on India, idu patti nariya articles are there. It's all repeating and idu ellame nam already cover பண்ணிட்டோம். So I request you all to go through it again and to stay updated. Okay? So with this, let us straight away get into the discussion for today. First topic வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா panel wraps ministry for evasive reply on the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. So in the context, let us understand a few things about Manrega, right? So the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005 it came into existence. Now here, what was the primary intent? ஃபோக்கஸ் வந்து யார் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா சிட்டிசன்ஸ் ஆஃப் இந்தியா 18 இயர்ஸ் முடிச்சிருக்கணும், ரூரல் ஏரியாலேருந்து இருக்கணும், கரெக்ட்? ஸோ இவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு மினிமம் wage will be given, right? A guarantee will be there, minimum employment guarantee for 100 years, 100 days. Okay, a minimum employment guarantee for 100 days will be there. ஸோ இதுதான் இந்த ஸ்கீமோட அப்ஜெக்டிவ். ஸோ இவங்க என்ன மாதிரி ஒர்க் பார்ப்பாங்க, primarily into rural development related works, right? It could be upgrading the rural infrastructure. இந்த மாதிரியான works they will be engaged. So here number 1 nodal ministry யாருன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா Ministry of Rural Development, and here it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Primary aim to ensure that at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment is given to people in rural areas and those who are willing to undertake basically unskilled manual labor. So இதுதான் வந்து இதோட main objective and mandate. Okay, so here they have also mandated that almost 1/3 of the beneficiaries under this scheme should be women. So yes, when we talk about women empowerment, when we talk about empowering the village population of India, in the madri a scheme can also benefit them because it will improve their income levels, right? At the same time it can improve their purchasing power. Yes, their livelihood development will also take place. So this is the scheme oda mandate. So now here with regard to this, there are few more things we need to understand. So say there is a person who's interested, 15 days kulla avangalukku vandu or employment opportunity namak kuduklana, that particular person is eligible for what is called as an unemployment allowance. How will that be calculated? First 30 days oda wage oda 1/4 of the amount, right? That will be the minimum wage that has to be given as an unemployment allowance. Okay, so next idu thavara vera enna sollirukanga, majority of the works under this is primarily recommended by the Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha, right, is a major decision making body. So idla vandu pathina usually Gram Sabha la all the members, right, of the particular village, right, 18 years and above, right, whose names are there in the electoral roll, they constitute it. So here majority of the works that the Gram Panchayats basically undertake also is based on the recommendations of what the Gram Sabha states. So in the context one, it ensures accountability is there, right? People's engagement is there. There is a participatory approach, and it is also one way to strengthen grassroots level democracy, right? Usually enna solranga and the person work pandra site should be within 5 kilometer radius from his location, right? So in case vandu romba taandi pora mari irunduchina, a travel allowance can also be given. So these are the major features. So yes, in the context la major reason enna pathina, there is large amount of unpaid dues that the center has to give towards this particular scheme. So enna solranga pathina, 1/4, right, of whatever budgetary allocation is there between 25 to 26, that will be used to clear the past dues, that is last year's dues. Okay, and this will reduce the overall amount which is available for the scheme. So basically vandu pathina, center owes a great amount towards the due payment of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme dues. So idla vandu material costs and wages rendume center has to give, and the sum that has to be paid is quite a big number. Okay, so this has been a cause of concern. Idanaala this has been in the news. Schemes related questions ariya exam la vandirukku. So in this context, right, ministries, the objective, who is included, who are the beneficiaries, what are the salient features, right? Idu patti ellame you need to have an idea. Okay, so with this particular topic is done. Let's move forward to the next topic. So yes, in the topic vandu pathingana, it's about the global plastic treaty, right? So in the case la vandu there is a division between two particular groups. Okay, so on one side you have what is called as the high ambitious coalition. Okay, and this includes a certain group of countries, and then you also have the like-minded countries. So in the rendu group ku nadula there is a divide with regard to what is their stance on plastic production, plastic management, waste management, recycling. Idukku nadula there is a massive rift. So in the context of because of these differences of opinion, right, it is becoming very difficult to arrive at a consensus. All of us know plastics can be very harmful to the environment. Plastics are non-biodegradable, right, which means they can stay for a very long time, right? And idhe mari when plastics in the oceans keep on breaking down, right, microplastics like say nurdles, microbeads, etc., they can cause great damage to the human health, right? So idu patti nam already discuss pannirkom. So in the context of pathingana, what is the ongoing issue, what is the difference of opinion between the two major blocks, right? Who is supporting for what is India's stance, idu ellame நம்ம discuss பண்ண போறோம். So here in this context pathingana, talking about two groups, right, that I said. One, you have the high ambition coalition. இந்த high ambition coalition வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it is led by countries like say Norway and Rwanda. Many African countries also support the idea of high ambition coalition. High ambition coalition வந்து என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா see plastics produce பண்ணாதானே பிரச்சனை, ஸோ ப்ரொடக்ஷன் ஸ்டேஜ்லேயே நம்ம பிளாஸ்டிக்கை கட் பண்ணிடலாம், அப்போ there won't be much problem. பட் இதுவே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா there is one more group called as the like-minded countries. இந்த group வந்து are primarily countries who are into like petrochemicals, right, who massively are dependent on plastic, and this includes countries like say Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, etc. ஸோ இவங்க வந்து என்ன சொல்கிறாங்கன்னா see ப்ரொடக்ஷனை இமீடியட்டாக கம்மி பண்ண வேண்டாம், let us focus on recycling, waste management, right, let us try to ensure that like plastic is being effectively recycled and is managed well. Adhaan they are talking about. So here there is a difference of opinion. On one side, one group is saying lower the plastic production, one more group is saying let there not be significant caps on producing plastics, but let us talk about managing the waste, let us talk about reducing the pollution caused by it, let us talk about recycling it. So in the differences of opinion, there is a strong deadlock. But here if we talk about the various other countries, right, in these countries there are some countries who genuinely feel that if at all வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா if you put a strong cut on plastic production, right, global supply chains will get disrupted, trade will get affected, because plasticக்கு தேவைப்படுற alternatives figure out பண்ண கூட lot of research is required, funds will be required, and this can disrupt global trade and supply chains. இதுவும் வந்து நிறைய countries cite பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. So in the context yes, if we talk about a few other things, what the world is saying is, or what many people see is, plastic production and manufacturing from the west, it is now starting to shift towards South and Southeast Asia. So India kuda is taking the stance of the like-minded countries, where India is saying that see let us not immediately cut down on production, but let us focus on waste management, recycling, etc. So now over here different countries have different opinions, right, but inga pathina African countries are more or less mooting for the idea of high ambition coalition, where production cut பண்ணனும்னு சொல்றாங்க. Okay, so இதுதான் வந்து context. So here வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா we can significantly see, number one, there is a global north versus a global south divide, a difference of opinion between some major developed countries, developing and least developed countries. நிறைய கண்ட்ரீஸ்க்கு அவங்கவுங்க ஓன் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்குது, எஸ்பெஷலி பெட்ரோகெமிக்கல்ஸ் அதிகமாக எக்ஸ்போர்ட் பண்ணுற கண்ட்ரீஸ் ஆர் ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணுற கண்ட்ரீஸ் ஆர் வெரி லைக் they are not very much interested in going for production cuts. They feel it will hamper their growth, trade and their economy. So இந்த மாதிரியான conditions and discussions are there. So next என்ன சொல்கிறாங்க, if we talk about other forms of plastics like single use plastic etc. can be very harmful for the environment. But on the other hand, people are worried that this could disrupt supply chains, right, this could disrupt trade. So இந்த மாதிரியான discussions இதில் engage பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. So now it is still under a deadlock. So yes, also in these discussions they have mooted the idea of polluters pays principle. அப்படின்னா என்ன, the producers of plastic, right, are responsible for its end life. Meaning after its end life, plastic வந்து recycle பண்ணுறதா இருக்கட்டும், reuse பண்ணுறதா இருக்கட்டும், the producer has to take responsibility and not transfer the blame to the consumer. So this is called as polluters pay principle. Okay, so இதையும் வந்து இங்கே mention பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. So yes, with regard to this plastic pollution, impact of plastic pollution on marine and aquatic ecosystems, previously பார்த்தீங்கன்னா plastic crust பற்றி பேசியிருக்கோம், nurdles பற்றி பேசியிருக்கோம், micro beads பற்றி பேசியிருக்கோம். Please go and read about all of that. Okay, so yes, with this let's move forward. So let's solve a previous year question. So இதை நம்ம ஆல்ரெடி பார்த்துருக்கோம், why is there a great concern about microbeads that are released into the environment? 2019 கேட்டிருக்க question. Option A, they are considered harmful to marine ecosystems. Option B, they are considered to cause skin cancer in children. Option C, they are small enough to be absorbed by crop plants in irrigated fields. They are often found to be used as food adulterants. So in the context marine ecosystems it is considered very harmful. So this is the correct answer. And one more thing that I wanted to say, sometimes UPSC options are kuda traps vekklam, please don't fall prey to it. For example, here there is a word called as micro. And the topic பத்தி உங்களுக்கு ஐடியா இல்லைனா you may think here there is an option which says small enough. So micro, small enough ஒரு கனெக்ஷன் இருக்குன்னு C பக்கம் கூட இன்க்ளைன் பண்ணணும்னு தோணும். But please watch out that இந்த மாதிரியான டாபிக்ஸ் நியூஸில் இருக்கும்போது rely on knowledge first. When knowledge fails, use techniques. Please understand this. Okay, so yes, in this context let's move forward. So yes, இது வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா international relations இருந்த ஒரு topic. Okay, so there was a telephonic conversation which happened between our Prime Minister and also the Ukrainian President, right? So in the context, yes, the Ukrainian President had briefed our Prime Minister Modi about the situation in Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine conflict nala, what is happening with regard to Ukraine, the crisis that they are facing. And on the other hand, Ukraine has also pressed forward that if at all India tries to reduce imports from Russia for crude oil, it will be better because in the money will anyways be diverted to fund the war. So these are some conversations that they have had, and in the context of our Prime Minister has reiterated that any decision on Ukraine should be taken with consultation of Ukraine. Adiyum nama reiterate pannirkom. We've also spoken about the need for peace efforts for these regions. Okay, so overall this was the primary discussion. In the context, let us understand few things. See, background patti pesnona, all of you know the Russia-Ukraine conflict has been going on for quite some time. So இந்த மாதிரி டாபிக்ஸ் படிக்கும்போது what will be its implication on India? இந்த ஆங்கிளையும் படிக்கணும். On one side, yes, India is also leaning close to Russia because of the fragmented geopolitical order that we are in. At the same time, Ukraine பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் கூட India has been dependent with regard to fertilizers, agriculture from Ukraine. So in the context of Russia-Ukraine conflict நடந்துட்டு இருக்கும்போது, the background, if I just have to tell you what majorly happened was, see, heavy Western sanctions were imposed on Russia. So now what happened is, Russia decided that okay, it has to look out for markets to sell out its crude oil apart from that of Europe and the West. So in the context of when Russia was looking out for options, what Russia did was, it started selling crude oil at highly discounted prices. So here வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா India felt that by procuring Russian crude oil, Russian fossil fuels, number one, inflation can be kept in check because prices would be stable. So yes, in the context India has been procuring crude oil, fossil fuels from Russia. They've also been getting military equipment like the S-400 defense systems from Russia. This is not liked by US, right? Ukraine also fears that in the procurements can be indirectly used to fund the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. But here we need to understand, in a fragmented world where there is always Western double standards, India we have to take care of our interest. See, US is accusing India of importing crude oil from Russia when US itself is importing uranium from Russia. Does it make sense? Next, European Union is criticizing India, right? But on this context, European Union is also procuring crude oil from Russia. So these are Western double standards. So when every country avanga interest paathukumbodhu, India also has to secure its interest, right? And for a country like India, where we are heavily dependent on crude oil imports, right? Procuring oil from Russia can keep the prices stable and ensure massive inflation does not take place, right? So in the way வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா India has been dependent on Russia for crude oil imports and military equipment imports. Okay, so yes, இதுதான் background. So just try to understand this. So yes, moving forward. So in the madri questions have come in the past. 2019 recently India signed a deal known as Action Plan for Prioritization and Implementation of Cooperation Areas in the Nuclear Field with which of the following countries? Japan, Russia, UK, US. So what do you guys think is the answer to this particular question? Any guesses? Any guesses? What do you think is the answer? Okay, so guys, with regard to this question, the answer is B, Russia. Okay, so இந்த மாதிரி questions கேட்பாங்க prelims-லையும் சரி mains-லையும் implications of some countries on that of India. Questions like this have come, so you should be prepared. Okay, fine. So moving forward, ஒரு mains question பார்க்கலாம், right? So this mains question வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 2020 it was asked as a 15-mark question, 250 words. What is the significance? What is the significance of Indo-US defense deals over Indo-Russian defense deals? Discuss with reference to stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so idu vandu has been a question which has come in your 2020 exam, right, in your mains. 15 mark 250 words question. Okay, so take a look at it. Fine. So next, moving forward, let's talk about this. The Uttarakashi floods, right? Uttarakhand, there were massive flash floods. A flash flood event was triggered because of a cloud burst. So in the context there were multiple articles which said many people have gone missing, some people have died, right? Great damage to life and property, right? And still rescue operations are being undertaken to identify the number of people who have got lost and who are trapped, right? So in the context they've also compared this to the 2013, right? The Kedarnath disaster also which took place. So here in this context, disaster management point of view, this topic is significant. Yes, so you all know, Dharali when this took place, right, people were not even expecting an event like this to happen, right? Sudden downflow of water. So in the context, there was great damage to life, property, infrastructure, etc. So yes, efforts are being undertaken, right? They say 43 people are still missing, 1,300 people have been rescued so far. So in the context from the disaster management point of view and also geography about certain phenomena, right? And also about certain calamities, having an idea makes sense. So in the context flash floods, right? What is the trigger factor? Next, cloud bursts. How does it happen? These are all core geography topics. So in the context, if I have to give you an idea, what they say is a cloud burst event was one which triggered the flash flood. So cloud burst na enna? Sudden downpour of heavy rainfall in a small region continuously for a very long period of time. So there was several hours of intense rainfall which kept on taking place, after which the water levels got completely risen up, and this triggered a flash flood like event. So in the context, yes, when flash floods took place, there was great damage to life and property, right? So in the context, how do these events, or how do flash floods get triggered? Intense rainfall irukkalam. Ella embankment or ella reservoir there is a water holding capacity. When that breaches, water will definitely come out. Sometimes it can also be triggered by, say, events like earthquakes, avalanches, landslides, etc. Poor drainage melt of glaciers all this can trigger such events, right? Heavy infrastructure projects, not conducting an environmental impact assessment, all this could be trigger factors. So yes, at this point of time, it is very important that disaster preparedness is undertaken. Capacity building for disaster personnel is undertaken, right? So effective mapping of disaster prone zones and undertake panano. Early warning systems are properly incorporate panano, right? Disaster preparedness should be also be undertaken, right? People should be trained in the madriyana situation how should they protect themselves, right? So the ellame should be undertaken, right? And timely response to the particular disaster also matters. And going forward, Himalayan region, yes. So in the edathila, because it is also in the seismic zones, so in the case we need to be very careful in the future when we talk about planning, development and tourism in this place. So yes, nariya infrastructure projects, nariya mining, nariya encroachment, when all this happens, right, it can trigger and cause future disasters. So in the context, it is very important to take all this into account. So yes, disaster management point of view, you please go back and cover this particular topic. Okay. So guys, with this, let us look at a question. Flooding in urban areas is an emerging climate-induced disaster. Discuss the causes of this disaster. Mention the features of two such major floods in the last 2 decades in India. Describe the policies and frameworks in India that aim on tackling such floods. So definitely this can never be a 10-mark question. So this is a 15-mark question, 250 words question, and either on the 2024 very recently. So yes, questions like this are coming in the exam. So in the madriyana topics varumbodhu, try to cover it both from the concept, the prelims point of view, as well as from the mains point of view. Okay, so always remember, neenga enna topic padichalume, as much as possible, try to do a very integrated approach. Neenga mains angle nariya topics padichittingana, automatically the prelim side of it is also getting covered, right? So remember this as well. So yes, moving forward, let's talk about important topics for today. So first major topic vandu pathingana, retail inflation hits 8-year low of 1.55% as food prices drop. So yes, 2017 அப்புறம் இப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னா there has been a massive 8-year low in the retail inflation. So we all know when we talk about inflation targeting, it has to be kept within the range of 4 to 6%, right? So it is much more lesser than that. So அப்படி பேசும்போது it has to be kept within the band of 2 to 6%. So it is much more lesser than that, and this is quite concerning. So here in this context there are also multiple benefits, but at the same time we also need to take calculated steps, because looking at the ongoing tariffs that US has imposed on India, right, we need to ensure that there is constant stability. So in the context of what is inflation? Too much money chasing very few goods, right? So here what are some updates abdin pathingana? Let us talk about some facts. So yes, retail inflation has fallen to the rate of 1.55% this July, right, and it has been an all-time low comparing 8 years. So major reasons and deflation is taking place in food prices, right? Vegetables are irukattum, meat are irukattum, prices are coming down. So what have been some trigger factors for this in pathina? Number one, they say the monsoon was quite good, right? Kharif oda output, Kharif season oda output was also quite good. Next, they also say there was a good high base effect, and also the reservoirs were full. When we say reservoirs were full, irrigation requirements for agriculture was also good enough. So in the context, yes, all this has been responsible for the drop in the retail inflation. Next, enna solrangan pathina, even if we talk about core inflation, that is it excludes food and fuel, core inflation include pannalume, it has also dropped. So here the values have come down to 4.1% from 4.4%, okay? So here these all are some findings. Next one, the pathina, what they have said is overall this will continue till the end of the year, December varaikum this will continue, right? And what they have also said is despite the US tariffs on India, not much significant changes might take place, but RBI has said we have to watch out for. And if at all, like, you know, because of severe US sanctions, right, if at all we are going to cut down our imports of crude oil from Russia, we have to start looking out for the other options like say Iraq and Kuwait. இதையும் சைட் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஸோ இந்த கான்டெக்ட்ஸில் சம் பேசிக் கான்செப்ட்ஸ், இன்ஃப்ளேஷன்னா என்ன, டிஸ்இன்ஃப்ளேஷன்னா என்ன, ரீஃப்ளேஷன்னா என்ன, டீஃப்ளேஷன்னா என்ன, இன்ஃப்ளேஷன் டார்கெட்டிங், வாட் இஸ் தி பேண்ட், டிஃப்ரென்சஸ் பிட்வீன் கன்சியூமர் ப்ரைஸ் இண்டெக்ஸ் அண்ட் ஹோல்சேல் ப்ரைஸ் இண்டெக்ஸ், ரைட்? இதை பற்றி எல்லாமே போய் படிங்க, right? So all this could be important from the examination point of view, okay? So next, look at this question. A rise in general level of prices may be caused by, basically inflation can be caused by அப்படினு கேக்குறாங்க. Number one, an increase in the money supply, a decrease in the aggregate level of output, an increase in the effective demand. Select the current answers using the given code. 2013 prelims கேட்டிருக்காங்க. What do you think is the answer? What do you think is the answer, guys? Inflation can be caused by which of the following? So see, all these questions, if these come, you're very, very lucky because they are too direct, okay? So yes, inflation aale enna, too much money chasing very little goods. So definitely increase in money supply will be a definite reason, right? Decrease in the aggregate level of output. Abdina enna, supply kammi agudana, if supply becomes less, automatically, right, there will be a greater demand, right? There is scarcity, there will be a greater demand. So in that context, too much money will drive very few goods. So in the context of pathina, again in this case, this is also true. Next, increase in effective demand. Yes, that is also possible. So in the context, the correct answer is 1, 2 and 3, okay? So in the mari questions, they are very direct, right? You can get your answers very easily correct. This is core concepts. So if your concepts are clear, these answers will definitely come through. Okay, so next, moving forward, let's talk about this. So recently, when the Bombay High Court has remarked that Aadhaar voter ID cannot be proof of citizenship. Okay, so primarily, the reason aachin pathingana, there was a particular person, right? He has been accused of being an illegal migrant from Bangladesh. He has documents like say Aadhaar, he has the voter's ID, etc. But all these are forged documents. So in the context of the Bombay High Court has reiterated that Aadhaar, voter ID cannot be a proof of citizenship. They can be used as identity documents, okay? Or they can also be used for procuring certain services. But in this context, they cannot be used primarily for claiming citizenship, okay? So here in this context, polity பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் GS paper 2 citizenship இது பத்தி பார்க்கும்போது, here you need to know citizenship features in part 2 of the Indian Constitution. The articles under citizenship are part Article 5 to Article 11. So the one article it talks about something, citizenship comes under the union list. So these are few things you should know. For example, Article 5 basically talks about citizenship at the commencement of the constitution. Article 6 basically talks about people who have migrated to India from Pakistan. Article 7 talks about those who migrated to Pakistan and then came back. Article 8 talks about persons of Indian origin, right? Article 9 reinforces the idea of single citizenship that India has. So yes, if a person acquires the citizenship from any other country, right, then automatically the Indian citizenship will become terminated. So yes, Article 10 when talks about the continuance of rights of citizenship. Article 11 also says that Parliament from time to time, right, can regulate provisions pertaining to citizenship. So in the context that these articles are important here, but majorly we have something called as the Citizenship Act. So in the context of the Citizenship Act of 1955 basically says that there are different ways in which one can acquire citizenship. Birth irukkalam, registration irukkalam, naturalization irukkalam, descent irukkalam. Idu ellame core polity basics, right? So here it is your job to go back and read the static areas. So please do that, okay? So yes, in the context let us solve a question quickly. With reference to India, consider the following statements. 2021 prelims கேட்டிருக்காங்க. There is only one citizenship and one domicile, right? A citizen by birth can only become the head of the state. A foreigner once granted citizenship cannot be deprived of it under any circumstances. So yes, so இங்க வந்து just try to decode it. India பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் single citizenship, yes. One domicile which is domicile of India. So this is correct. A citizen by birth can only become the head of the state. Head of the state na yaar, we're talking about president, right? Naturalization liyu iruklame. So in the case the second one will not come. A foreigner once granted citizenship cannot be deprived of it under any circumstances. First of all, extreme statements vandale you need to watch out. Okay, and here we definitely know disloyalty, right, getting in fraudulent activities, all this can also make sure that your citizenship is terminated. So here in this context the correct answer is A1 only. So இந்த மாதிரி தான் questions கேக்குறாங்க. So நீங்க என்ன topic படிச்சாலுமே make sure you go back and read the static area to it. Okay, fine. So next, moving forward, let's talk about it. Semiconductor plants பத்தி பேசியிருக்காங்க. The cabinet has given approval for 4 semiconductor plants. Okay, so yes, semicon sector, semicon industry, science and tech it features as an important topic. So yes, cabinet வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா they have given approval for 4 semiconductor plants, 2 of which will come up in Odisha, 1 will come up in Punjab and 1 will come up in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so Punjabla Mohalli பத்தி பேசியிருக்காங்க. Odisha specifically 2 projects in Bhubaneswar, right? So all this has been cited over here. In the context of what are semiconductors, right, that we need to understand. So semiconductors na enna basic science and tech la poi padichingna you will know it has an electrical conductivity between a conductor and an insulator. So in the property irukradanaala da semiconductors find applications in many electronic devices because they can be used to control the flow of current. Yes, so when we talk about examples of semiconductors, see gallium irukkalam, germanium irukkalam, gallium arsenide irukkalam, right, silicon irukkalam, they are all major examples of semiconductors, right? So in the context of vandu pathina what are semiconductors, examples of semiconductors, why are they used in electronic devices, this is important. And yes, there is a process called as doping. So inga vandu pathina the conductivity of semiconductors can actually be modified by adding certain amount of impurities, and this process is called as doping. So what is doping in the context of semiconductors, idu patti poi padinga. Okay, so here examples idu namalukku theriyum, right? So apart from this, India vandu pathina it wants to become a global leader in semiconductors, right? Semicon sector, manufacturing chips, right, displays, right, diodes, transistors, idla ellame we want to scale up. So in the context yes, there has also been discussions about the India semiconductor mission, right? A huge sum of money has been allocated for it. 2021 la idu kondu vandanga. So in the context the idea is to make India a global leader in the semicon sector in terms of electronics manufacturing, right, for all these things. So here vandu pathina in all stages, let it be supply, let it be packaging, let it be testing, let it be design, India wants to scale up. So in the context just read about India semiconductor mission, read about semiconductors, read about their characteristic features. All of this could be important from the examination point of view. Okay, next let's talk about this. The Indian Council of Medical Research set to monitor wastewater for 10 viruses in 50 cities. The Indian Council of Medical Research set to monitor wastewaters for 10 viruses in 50 cities. So yes, the idea is simple. So waterborne diseases nariya nama country la spread agudhu, and we also know pollution, right, is indirectly linked to the health of the population, right? So in the context la vandu pathina, the ICMR is basically undertaking a study where vandu 50 cities பற்றி போய் இருக்கிற வாட்டர் சாம்பிள்ஸை கலெக்ட் பண்ணி they are going to observe for various types of viruses. என்னெல்லாம் viruses on the list? COVID-19 is definitely there, right? So that is there. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா avian influenza, right? So like this they have cited many more viruses, right? Polio, they are going to watch out for all of this. So in the context வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா what is the primary aim? So here வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா to create awareness, right? To improve surveillance, disease monitoring, right? For promoting early warning, இது எல்லாத்துக்குமே it will be useful. And most importantly, they have also mentioned about what is called as antimicrobial resistance. So AMR பத்தி சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. So what is AMR? So many times you will notice you may have very high fever, but even after putting the tablet it will continue, right? So இது எல்லாமே is indication of what is called as antimicrobial resistance, which means the drug that you are consuming is no longer effective. So ஏன் antimicrobial resistance நடக்குது அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, number one, people say overuse or misuse of drugs. Self prescription, doctor சொல்றதை தாண்டி நம்மளே we are becoming self doctors and we are prescribing medicines for our own selves, right? Mild cold, mild fever, you want to take tablet immediately. So what will happen? The particular pathogen becomes resistant, the microorganism becomes resistant, and if it becomes super resistant, it is also known by a word called as super bug, which could be very dangerous. So in the context வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, the World Health Organization has prescribed many requirements, many conditions to ensure that antimicrobial resistance does not take place, because AMR ஆச்சுனா medicines will fail, right? And it is very risky. So in the context, World Health Organization also spoke about a campaign called as aware campaign பற்றி பேசியிருக்காங்க. So basically stands for access, watch and reserve. So in the context talking about antimicrobial resistance, please read about aware, right? In the context of India, please read about red line campaign. Any guesses what red line campaign is? If you know, please type it in the comment section. Okay, so in the context, yes, what the world is also putting forward for is we need to keep in mind that there is a concept called as One Health. And in the One Health vandu we have to keep in mind, especially considering the fact that there has been an increase in zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases na enna? Diseases transferred from animals to humans. So yes, in a world where we are highly exposed, right, distances between animals and humans kammi aga, right, more diseases are spreading. So inga vandu there is a need to understand One Health approach. One Health approach na enna? Health of the human, animal and the environment are interconnected. Okay, so in the context every part needs to be balanced and secured. So if animals health is a problem, it can impact humans health as well. So in the context of One Health approach has always been reiterated. So in the context read about antimicrobial resistance, read about One Health approach, right? I have given you some examples like aware, access, watch, reserve. இதை பற்றி எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் படிச்சு பாருங்க. Okay, so next moving forward, one more major topic. So polity GS paper 2, Bihar draft rolls are not helpful in finding new existing voters. Okay, so here vandu pathingana they have spoken about there have been almost 64,000 applications have been filed for fresh registrations of voters, but ingeyum vandu pathingana they have discussed something about form 6 issues in this, right? So here overall vandu pathingana many people who have been deceased avanga perla kuda avanga names are also there in the draft list. So here this primarily talks about the special intensive revision exercise which has been undertaken in the state of Bihar. Idu patti nam already nariya discuss pannirkom, so please take a look at it. These are just some updates. Okay, so keep following updates. One time ஒரு டாபிக்கை நல்லா படிச்சிட்டிங்கன்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் வர updates will be easy only for you. You don't have to worry much about it. Talking about special intensive revision, yes, the state of Bihar வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they're going for their assembly polls in November. So அப்படி இருக்கும்போது last time that the exercise was done was in 2003. Election Commission feels the data is highly outdated. இதை வந்து நம்ம திருப்பியும் வந்து we have to collect the details and streamline the process to ensure accountability. But what is worrisome is that many people's names are being excluded. Supreme Court has said special intensive revision is about inclusion and not exclusion. But looking at the way things are going, many people happen to be excluded than included. So yes, இது வந்து ஒரு fast track processல லேட் ஜூன்லேருந்து ஆரம்பித்து செப்டம்பருக்குள்ளே முடிக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறாங்க. ஸோ பிகாஸ் தி என்டையர் ப்ராசஸ் இஸ் ஃபாஸ்ட் ட்ராக், ரைட், ஸ்கோப் ஃபார் எரர் மைட் பீட் தேர் அண்ட் தேட் நீட்ஸ் டு பி வாட்ச்ட் அவுட். ஸோ இப்போ வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஹவு த ப்ராசஸ் இஸ் யூஸ்வலி டன் இஸ், நம்பர் 1, பூத் லெவல் ஆஃபீஸர் வந்து டோர் டு டோர் சர்வே கண்டக்ட் பண்ணி நேம், ஏஜ், அட்ரஸை கிராஸ் வெரிஃபை பண்ணுவாங்க. Document verification will happen. So here 11 documents have been given that which you can provide. But on the other hand, inga pathina Aadhaar, ration card has not been accepted. So Supreme Court has directed to use them as well. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா the third step, the draft electoral roll will be released. இப்போ recently the draft electoral roll was released and many people's name were not there in the list. So that is concerning. Okay, and next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா in a few maybe in a month's time or so or more, the final revised roll will also be released. So in the context of there have been multiple discussions. So many newspaper articles talking about special intensive revision, right? The position of the election commission, the Supreme Court stand on this particular issue, right? And what the major criticism about it as well is. So in the context about Election Commission of India, right? Election Commission of India conducting elections to the parliament, state legislatures, office of president and vice president, Election Commission of India oda constitutional mandate, its provisions, idu ellame poi padinga, relevant articles, right? Read about article 326 as well, which talks about universal adult franchise, because in the edathila the major criticism has been this process has focused more on exclusion rather than inclusion. There is massive disenfranchisement. அதுவும் ஒரு மேஜர் கிரிட்டிசிசமாக இருக்குது. ஸோ இன் திஸ் கான்டெக்ஸ்ட் வி ஹாவ் டு கீப் இன் மைண்ட் ஆர்டிகல் 326. ஓகே, ஸோ லைக் திஸ் மேஜர் ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ், தி அப்டேட்ஸ், ப்ளீஸ் கீப் ரீடிங். ஓகே, ஸோ தட்ஸ் இட். ஸோ இதோட பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எஸ், வி ஹாவ் overall significantly covered certain important topics. Many topics are repeated topics, right? So repeated topics have been excluded because please look at them in the playlist and cover. Whatever is new, I have taken efforts to cover it. So in the context, yes, like I already said, Israel, Palestine, the updates are there. Special intensive revision, many more updates are there, right? The tariffs and the implication of US tariffs on India, that is also there. Russia-Ukraine conflict, adu pathiyum irukku. Idu ellame we have already discussed, repeatedly occurring. So please make sure you go back and cover it. So yes, today being a Wednesday, I wish you all a very happy, positive and blessed day ahead. Study well and stay productive. Thank you.